Today we begin a sermon series for Lent called Full to the Brim, which may seem a little different to you for a Lenten sermon series where we talk about emptying ourselves and lack and fasting and giving up and all those things. How can we be full to the brim in the middle of Lent? And my hope is that you can begin to understand that as Lent does take away things from us, as we experience that lack, that's intended in an intensive time so that you and I can realize who we truly are in Jesus Christ and be full to the brim. Now, I want you to think about a drink for the moment, right? And having it full, right? Now, if you're like me, you never fill your glass all the way up because you'll spill it, right? But if you're my wife, on the other hand, she fills her glasses up to the brim, right? And if I bring her a glass that's not full to the brim, she's like, What is this? Where's this missing piece right up here, right? I'm like, I didn't want to drop it, right? Now, I want you to think about that image right there, that full to the brim and the spilling over, because that's precisely what the life of faith, what eternal life, abundant life, this life in God is supposed to be. It's supposed to be full to the brim, and so much so that as we walk around life, it spills over. And Lent is a season that we intentionally enter into so that we can be full to the brim, so that Easter, so that resurrection will fill our lives. Here in John chapter 4, or Luke chapter 4, this text that we read this morning is all about that. Jesus goes into the wilderness. The Spirit compels him to go out into that wilderness. The Spirit compels you and I to enter into this season of Lent right now. We do so by choice. Do you hear that? We do so by choice, knowing that in the desert, in the wilderness, in these wild places, there we will be reunited, reconnected with God, with our Creator, with who we are meant to be, the God who defines our lives. Because, let's be honest, out here in the real world, the non-desert places, civilization, there's a lot of noise. A whole lot of noise about what life's supposed to be, about who you and I are supposed to be and how we get that life, the good life, right? Here in our society, we are told that getting the good life is really about this kind of rushing around that we do, isn't it? And that if we just run hard enough and fast enough and try to get all of the stuff along the way, we will be happy, fulfilled, significant, whatever word you want to throw in there. Joyful, happy, at peace. And yet the more that we spin our little legs, the less happy we are, the less at peace we are, the less fulfilled we are. All these things that they say, if we do these things, you'll get that good life, seem to actually fail over and over and over again for us. That's precisely what Luke chapter 4 is all about. Jesus goes out into this desert. He is tempted with things that you and I are tempted with all of the time. Think about it. That first temptation right there. Turn these stones into bread. That's what our world asks us to do all of the time. We are to turn sand into bricks, just like the Egyptians asked the people of Israel all the way back there in those deserts of Exodus, right? We're asked to turn kind of this emptiness out there in life into something that's going to feed ourselves, right? That's going to produce. And there's a place for production, obviously, in the world, right? There's a place of like, hey, don't be lazy and actually produce in life, but production often becomes an idol for us, doesn't it? If we produce, then you have significance and meaning, right? That's what our world tells us. And so a lot of us, including myself, spend our lives going, okay, I'm going to produce. I'm going to make stuff for people, and they're going to be happy with me. And they're going to reward me, yes, with bread, with money, right? But they're also going to reward me with lots of other things too, like their approval, right? How many of you are on that approval train in your life, right? I got a few of you saying that, right? If I just run hard enough, they will all be happy with me, right? And yet, there's this moment where you get that little accolade from someone and it does fill you up, right? But the moment that you don't, the letdown, right? The letdown. So the devil comes out to Jesus to literally make a deal with him, right? That's what's going on here in this text, and it's what's going on in our lives. We are constantly provided with deals with the devil in our life. If I will but just compromise a little bit of who I am, my essence, my identity, my calling, my sense of self, then I can have the good life, right? And so Jesus is presented with survival right here. I want you to think about this temptation right here. Jesus has been in the desert for 40 days. Biologically, scientifically, his body has begun to eat away at itself. It's chewed through the fat and now chewing in the muscle, right? It's literally eating away at that self, all of those narratives of life, all those things that have filled him up, and now it's all been eaten away. And the devil comes and goes, here you go. Turn this stone into bread. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with production. There's nothing wrong with money. There's nothing wrong with the bread. He is the Son of God. He could do this. It harkens back to that time with Israel in the desert and the manna, and literally the manna literally formed on top of the rock of the desert. So if you're the Son of God, feed yourself, right? If you are a child of God, live into those callings and giftings. Come on, let's see them, people, right? If you are such a unique and wonderful, amazing child of God, which is what I tell you all the time, right? Let's see it. Let's see your production. Let's see how great you are, right? So that you can feel good about yourself, so that others will feel good about you, so that you have all that stuff, right? And yet, no, that's not why we turn stones into bread. That's not why we use our gifts and the unique things God put inside of us, is it? So that didn't work, right? Jesus goes, come on, man. We don't live by bread alone. And dislodges us from that narrative that that's what life is all about. So the devil moves on. Fine. You apparently understand who you are, your mission and significance in life. So, next. I'll give it all to you. I'll give the whole thing to you, all of the kingdoms, all of these people, all of the earth. That's why you came, isn't it? Right? This is what the devil's doing to Jesus right here. Your whole mission in life is to have all of this. So, here you go. On a platter. The quick fix. Shortcut to the end of the story, right? You can have it all. Just one thing. You kind of have to worship me in the process, right? And here's the thing, friends. You and I have been presented with this gambit over and over and over again in our lives. This little piece of, if you just sell yourself out just a little bit, you can have all this. Just a little bit. I just need a little bit of you. And I'm going to ask that again of you tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. And you and I wake up in our lives after making that compromise of our identity and self over and over and over again throughout life. And we wake up and go, I don't know myself anymore. I don't feel like myself. I don't feel like I am full. I feel empty, actually. This was supposed to be all of it, wasn't it? I mean, I bought into the suburban narrative, friends. I don't know about you, right? I'm supposed to be living my best life that I can possibly live, 2 cars in my garage, good jobs, got the kid, he's in all the stuff, right? Chauffeur him around all evening long to all the things, right? Eat at all the restaurants, go on the vacations and trips, right? This is the narrative, right? How many of us feel fulfilled? How many of us are truly happy with all that stuff? How many of us are actually at peace? Yeah. Empty promises, those deals with the devil are. And so then the devil presents Jesus with one last test. Okay, I'm getting it, Jesus. You really do know who you are. You do know what your mission in life is. You do know that can't take a shortcut. But what if we put your life on the line? So the devil puts Jesus on the pinnacle of the temple. What the text is inferring here is that Jesus' life is in danger. He can either hold on and waste further away, now that he's 40 days into this fast, and die, or you are the Son of God. You could jump. And then the devil quotes 2 scriptures back to Jesus. Jesus has quoted scripture up to this point in the text, right? So the devil does this wonderfully manipulative, beautiful con job right here, right? Let me just throw out some more Bible to you, essentially, right? If you jump, God's going to save you. God has to save you. You're the Son of God. The reason why you're even here is because you have to save all these people. So you can't die. If you died up here, you don't fulfill your identity, your mission, your calling, all the stuff. You will have failed. Or jump. Because God's going to save you. And then you still get to go and fulfill all the stuff. And Jesus says back to the devil, you shall not test the Lord your God. That's the King James Version. I said something different in our text, but similar enough. You shall not test the Lord your God. Because, friends, you and I get into this place in our lives, and it will happen probably by the end of the day, if not sometime tomorrow, where life will present a circumstance to you that you go, if I don't jump in here and do this thing, then it will fail. This deep sense that if I don't come to the rescue, and this gets into our Messiah complex, right? If I don't do this thing, then this whole thing's going to fall apart. And yet, friends, we have faith in God that says, no. You little God, it's not on you. Even if you're Jesus Christ, strapped to the pinnacle of the temple, meant to go to a cross and resurrect and do the whole thing, God's still going to get done what God intended to get done. with or without you. This isn't on you. It's not dependent on you. You're not in control. You're not in power. You, in fact, can just relax and go, you know what? I don't have to enter into this gambit. I don't have to take this deal with the devil. I don't have to live into this test. I can go, you know what? In life and in death, we belong to God. And step away and out of that narrative and go, God's got this. I don't have to. Friends, when we give up these aspects of the narrative that society and culture keep trying to put inside of us, all of a sudden there becomes space in our lives, isn't there? I don't have to grind it out all the time and produce. I certainly don't have to try to find a shortcut and give myself away. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not on me. I'm not in charge. God is. And when that happens, all of this space that's been taking up our lives, and God can fill us to the brim. That's what happens when we come to the communion table as well.